All right, everybody, welcome to episode 8 of Dumb and Drummer. My guest today is Jay Postones from Tesseract. Did I pronounce the last name right?
You did if I lived somewhere south of the border.
Ah,
That's
so it's
probably how they'd say it.
it's Postones?
It's Postones. Yeah, I mean, I'm from
Postone.
Birmingham in the UK, so it's Postones. But yeah,
Postones.
if
Got
I
it.
had
All
any
right,
Spanish
awesome.
heritage, for sure, it'd be Postones.
Yeah, yeah. And my last name's Gonzalez, so I was like, my pronunciation automatically went there. But yeah, thank you for joining us today, and really look forward to asking you some questions. Just as a quick heads up, I saw you play in Minneapolis with the Contortionist, and
Nice.
where it was a headlining tour, and this was probably maybe 4 years ago, something
Is
like
it
that.
Sky something theatre?
I don't even remember the name of the venue, but I went with my dad, and my dad's passed away now, so it was one of the only concerts that we went to together. And I'm telling you, man, besides Rage Against the Machine, which you'll give me a pass on, best live performance I've ever seen. I mean,
Ah,
just
thank you very much.
the lighting, the execution, everything sounded so perfect. I mean, it sounded like the album, but enough not like the album to still be entertaining, if you know what I mean. That you're not
That's
just
what we go for. Yeah, that's 100%. I'm glad to hear you say that because every every bit of money that we make, literally, um, goes into how the show looks and sounds. Pretty much when we go on tour, we expect that at the end of this, the balance sheet is going to show a zero on it because we've spent that much money making it a really good show, which you kind of have to at this stage. But yeah, man, that was. I'm just trying to think back to that tour. Wait, when did you say that was? 2016 was it? The Contortionist tour.
It might not have been that far back. It's really difficult for me to remember,
Same.
and I
That's
don't
what
have.
2020's done to me. It's just frazzled my brain.
Yeah, like time doesn't. Just look on your calendar for your upcoming meetings and stuff like that. Now is the new culture. But I want to say it was 4 years ago. So that would have
Okay.
been 2017. That sounds right to
I
me.
I could look. I say on my wall behind here. Anyone listening to this isn't going to be able to see, but anyone watching this, I've got all of my tour laminates for the past 10 years. I
Oh my
framed them
gosh.
the other week, and whenever I'm curious, like when was that? What show was that? I can just walk over there and see the year, the day, the venue. It's so good. It's
So
such a
sick.
dream.
So sick. Yeah, man. So let's get right into the question. So,
Yeah.
as many of the viewers and listeners probably know, you are an extremely technically proficient player, as well as just outside the box creative on subdivisions, and you have a knack for making things sound complex and then breaking them down and explaining how they're simple conceptually, but they sound really, really difficult. So, what is your general approach to composing drum parts for Tesseract?
My general approach to composing drum parts for Tesseract is allowing the guitarist to write those parts on a computer and then sending them to me as an MP3 and then me learning them. That's honestly how it works. We've got one guy in the band, Ackle, the guitarist, who he's a such a talented guy. He can write drum parts not from the perspective of a drummer, but he understands what's going to sound sonically just correct within the mix. Like the tom fills are going to sound right. The groove just fits perfectly, and I've honestly learned a lot. A lot of my playing style is emulating his style of programming drums. So I've taken my
Okay.
like old influences from my years of growing up and listening to music, those drummers, so like Thomas from Meshuggah, like a bunch of guys like that, and kind of merged that with Ackle's programming and out has been spat my style of drumming. Um, it's a weird way of doing it because there's a kind of a guitarist drummer relationship that you have to. I don't know the best way to explain this because it is a very bizarre thing, but it's a more and more common thing in nowadays. You've got guitarists and other members of the band writing these parts on a computer first before a drummer's even like got anywhere near the beat. So
Hmm.
you've got these really fast metal guys that are just like it's super fast feet, and only a handful of guys in the world can actually play that stuff, or play it well, I'd say. And similar with the prog realm of of drumming as well. You've got a bunch of guys who, and kind of more and more guys now, if I'm being honest, now that it's a more popular genre to be involved in. Um, you got these drummers that are just writing and playing the most ridiculous things. But I think it's probably because you've got non-drummers writing this stuff in the first place. So it's really pushing these guys to do things that a drummer's mind just wouldn't go to.
Yeah.
I literally wouldn't think of some of these things. If I'm sat behind a kit first and I'm jamming, using the things that I already know, I'm jamming out these ideas, my brain doesn't go to those places automatically, but I can sit and program something that is accidentally complex, like you were saying a minute ago, and you explaining my style of drumming. Accidentally complex. You're accidentally doing 13s and fives at the same time or something, but
Mm.
you can stick those back to a four, and then you listen to that enough, and even though you're doing all these crazy things, you can sync it up to a common number that an audience can nod their head along to and they can kind of groove to. And all my job is in this band and as a drummer is to realize these interesting rhythms and beats and polyrhythms and whatever you want to call it, and make it groove. Like, groove is the number one thing. I'm not bothered about going super fast, particularly. Yes, it's fun to be able to shred, is super fun,
Mm.
but I want to be able to groove. And as long as that is in place first, then I can start to play around with things. And Tesseract's music is, it's complex enough that I don't get that much opportunity to embellish these ideas, like to really
Mm.
go off on one live and do solos and things. That's not really our vibe. And like you said a minute ago as well, we want to try and get it as close to the recordings that people are familiar with live. So
Right.
the fills are 90% the same. Cymbals aren't so much, but the tom fill, or where the kicks are placed within a fill, those things are going to be very similar, if not identical, to the album recordings, because that's how we've learned them.
Right.
Um, yeah, that's it, man.
That's amazing, and it reminds me so much of Gavin Harrison, which
Yeah,
the approach is the same because and I don't say similar. I think it's the same. Is that he really tries. He even says in interviews like I want there to be a backbeat. It could be in 13/8, but I want there to be a consistent backbeat somehow,
yeah.
and he does it. And I think I actually listened to him on the Modern Drummer podcast, and he was able to talk about like the studio he records in. It has this insane amount of natural reverb and just going
Mm,
into all these anecdotes you would never guess. I mean, just they were amazing stories. But he was the first one to say like the other member of my band, I don't remember who it was, will send him a demo, and he said send it to me with the drum ideas and without. And it was really interesting that you're saying the same thing. Like even though someone else wrote it, you're not like I'm not gonna play that shit. I
yeah,
want to write my own parts. You're like, well, you have something in mind. Let me take what you have in mind and let me listen to it, and then I'll bridge the gap, or I'll try to bridge the gap between the two things.
yeah.
And that's a very, I don't even consider that musical. It's just a very diplomatic, democratic, whatever the word approach is. It's very humble approach to it. So I definitely respect that.
Yeah, I try and humanize these beats, so that they're already very human the way that Ackle programs. He's very aware of what is and is not possible, because some of the beats, if I'm being honest, some of them come through maybe 1 in 10, and I'll listen to it and be like, mate, that's literally not possible.
It fits,
It's
but it's just impossible to play.
yeah, like it. I know I can hear what's going on here, but I know that no matter how much time I spend, I'm going to get frustrated with myself
Yeah,
trying to learn this, because it's just insanely difficult.
yeah.
Um, I'm sure some guys would be up to the challenge, like for sure. There's people out there that are just incredible, but I'm I'm comfortable with my boundaries that I've set. But we're a very easygoing band, we really are now. But I don't think there's anything that I'm just trying to think of, like the album 5 stuff so far. What isn't possible? there's nothing in album 5 that isn't possible. We're working on that at the moment, and it's sounding very, very big, and I'm very much looking forward to playing it for people. Like
That's awesome.
really, because it's been so long since the last record. I just want to get stuck into playing new stuff for people. I want to go back out on tour as well, man.
Where's
2020
everyone at,
is
by the way?
where's
Is
everyone
are they
at?
scattered? Some are in the UK or like where?
So I'm in Texas. I'm in Austin. James is in London or near London. Ackle is in Milton Keynes, which is like very close to London. By American standards, it's like San Antonio
Oh,
to
okay, just a couple hours
Austin,
away.
or
Got it.
well, not even that far. It's like Round Rock to Austin, probably. Like
Oh,
it's
okay, okay.
super close, um, but it's definitely a different place. Dan is in the kind of north of the Midlands of the UK, near Nottingham, and Amos is in the south of France somewhere, drinking wine and living it up. Although I don't think he's living it up, especially. I think they're pretty locked down there because of the world at the moment. But yeah,
Dang.
he's in France, so we're all over the place. But you can be these days. It doesn't really matter where anyone is when you're in a band. I was going to say at our level, but I don't think it matters what level you're at. If you're mainly collaborating online, you can be anywhere.
Right.
You know, we're not
And
sitting in a room jamming this stuff because it doesn't really work like that. We write something and send it around, and everyone learns it and puts it back in the Google folder, and that's kind of how it works. There's only ever been like 3 jams ever with this band, and that was a
yeah.
long time ago. Um, but yeah, man, we're all over the place.
Well, and we actually talked to a guy who is in the same situation. He lives in Denver, and his
Mm,
band is in Southern California, so they can't just have a rehearsal. But he was talking about
mm,
all the benefits because he has all the stems with no drums, so he could
yeah,
literally practice his ass off on his own, getting ready for a show. And also, like the rehearsal process. I don't know how you feel about this, but the rehearsal process can be a little daunting. I mean, it's still fun, but it's like for that one song. I know somebody's like, hey, I have these two riffs. It's got to be composed and arranged. You got to get the feel for it. You got to get the BPMs down. Oh, what about this? What about that? Ideas. And here we are 3 or 4 hours later, and we have, a first draft of one song.
yeah.
Seems like a
Rehearsals.
lot of time to invest.
It depends on the kind of band you are. Like, I was in a band in the UK. It's been going the same length of time as Tesseract, but we just not active at all, and there's like zero business behind the band. It's just for fun.
Mm-hmm.
And we were very much a jam band, and it was still progressive stuff. It's still fairly technical, but we only worked because we could get together and jam like 2 or 3 times a week. Even we'd be in. Well, you had some studios in the UK. We'd literally be in one of those studios jamming, and we put out like 3 albums, had a bunch of demos, a bunch of EPs. Sorry, um, and that was really fun. But with Tess, the only rehearsal we have is 2 days before we go out on a tour. We all get in the same place.
Yeah.
And it's like a production studio. We get into the production studio. Day one is mostly like get everything set up, tune the drum or put new heads on the drums.
Mm-hmm.
All the computer gear gets set up. The lighting stuff gets set up for the production stuff. Testing all that works. We already know what the set's going to be. We know what the songs are. We've played them. Like we're responsible for learning them ourselves at home or in our studios before the turning up.
Right.
So we have like 2 or 3 run throughs of the set, and then we go on tour. And it's crazy the first time you play a brand new song because no one's played it together, but all
Yeah.
of a sudden you're all playing this song, and like that's a crazy feeling because
Yeah.
you know it in your head from a recording, or from listening to the stems, however it is that you rehearse. But you know it from that recording. But for 5 guys to all just be in sync for the very first time playing something as complex as our stuff, it's crazy. It's really
Yeah.
crazy that moment. I know Ackle and James and Amos get together a bit more before that production rehearsal, um, to get the guitar stuff working, because they're obviously playing different parts, because there's going to be two or three guitar lines
Yeah.
over sections of the song, so they'll get together and choose those parts out. But that, I mean, guitarists have got it easy, or easier. I'm going to get killed for saying that, but drummers have got the worst job. Like, we've got the most expensive instrument with the most expensive breakables. We need to literally choose the vehicle that we drive based on our instrument. If we've got two kick drums, we need a van. Like,
Yeah.
so guitarists turn up with guitar, literally plug it into your phone these days and go. Like, you've got like Meshuggah's tone out of your phone or something stupid.
Ah.
And meanwhile, we're like still lugging around all this crap. Like, it's what we need is a collapsible drum kit. You can
Yeah.
just like fold it flat, done. But until those days are here, um,
It's like the
yeah, man,
helicopter and the little mini helicopter.
yeah,
You just take it and throw it on the ground, and it becomes a full, or the reverse shrink ray. Just
that's what we need. But the other thing in like in rehearsals, and this is the one thing that I hate about rehearsals. So vocalists all the time, like doing all of that, getting the voice warmed up,
yeah.
doing, being noisy. Um, Guitarists, because we're on in ears.
Hmm.
There's zero sound in the room other than acoustic drums and vocals over, like,
Oh wow! So the
blends in there.
guitars are plugged straight into the board or something like that, as opposed to using
We're
amps.
we've got Axe effects, so they're
Oh
plugged
okay.
straight into these things, and it goes straight into our ears. There's no amps. There's no nothing. We
Wow.
travel very light. Um, so they're like noodling, listening to what they need, practicing the thing that we're about to play. I can't do that in the practice room. As soon as I start playing, everyone's like, "Jay, shut up!" It's like, guys, you're all doing it. You're all literally jamming
Yeah.
right now. Like, I'm just tuning my snare a little. Can I just tune my snare a little bit?
Yeah. Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
hate it. I hate it so much. We get such a bad time, like drummers, just in general, for like noodling in rehearsals. It's what we want to do. We're in this room that sounds nice. Our drums sound great. We got them tuned brilliantly. Just give me 5 minutes.
Yeah.
No,
And it's
you
a it's
don't
a,
give me
it's a
five
problem.
minutes. Same on
Yeah.
stage.
I think that there has to be some sort of evolution down the road because I agree with you. Like I don't know what that looks like, but the vocalist shows up with their mic and their in ears, and the guitar player has an amp and a guitar and pedals or whatever,
Yeah,
and the bassist has his amp and his guitar, and then we bring like 27 things. And I
yeah,
know like
and they all need boxes.
yeah, exactly, and it's all super fragile, like the breakables, as you
Yeah,
as you said before, I believe. But the thing is, like, I use a big kit as well. I don't use as many toms as you, but I use a standard 5 piece with a floor tom snare, like four crashes, a china, a stack, a ride, that sort of thing, three crashes. But I use everything.
hmm.
Like, there's a time and a place for I have the little Benny Greb crasher stacks or the crasher hats and an ice bell and stuff. And there's in every song, everything's used, but if you start taking stuff away just for the sake of like making it simpler, then I can't play the parts that I want to play to the song.
Yeah.
So that's
I
that's the give and take.
that's that's the biggest pain. I feel like the evolution will be when a drum kit like this becomes wireless.
Yeah.
For anyone listening, I've got a Roland electric kit behind me. When a kit like that becomes wireless and it's just bang bang bang, good to go, like sounds amazing.
Hmm.
That's so much easier because it's not silent, obviously, but massive volume reduction playing a kit like this, and on on this level of electronic kit, it's pretty realistic. I mean,
Oh yeah.
the cymbals, you're definitely still hitting big rubber pads, but the size of all of this, the ride cymbals 18 inches, the snares 14, the hi hats
Yeah.
are 13, the cymbals are like 13, 14, 15. It's getting more to the size of a real kit, minus the depth and the size of the bass drum. That's the big difference.
Well, it's funny that
Um,
you say Roland. They are releasing the hybrid
yeah,
electric kits now, which don't really solve the problem that we're talking about. But there's a few drummers on Instagram. One is Mitch plays drums. I don't know if you've heard of him. I think he's in the
no, interesting.
UK.
Okay,
Um, but he uses Steven Slate samples on his
Mm.
Roland kit, and everything sounds wonderful. So, and this isn't a question I had written down, but I was curious, chops and feel and ergonomics and stuff moving from e-kits to acoustic. Do you ever sit down in the acoustic and you're like, I need a minute to get reacclimated to the. This isn't a mesh head I'm playing on anymore. These are this is a plastic or whatnot. So I mean,
Yeah,
you find that challenging?
I'll let you know. I haven't played an acoustic kit since December 2019. I know.
Oh boy.
It's terrifying because I've been in the US unable to go anywhere. I don't have an acoustic kit because I'm in a rental property in Austin.
Oh
Um,
wow. Okay.
so well, I've got a touring kit in the UK and a touring kit in the US, which is in storage in Nebraska with the rest of Tesseract's gear. So I have this is my kit.
Okay.
And I'm just I'm expecting there to be a pretty big change in feel between this and the acoustic kit when I do have to go back and forth, or when the next Tesseract thing happens. Um, and the guys who put together the like production schedule for us, they already know that I need another like day or 2 days ahead of whatever they're doing with the kit for me
Yeah.
to get used to it. So I mean, I'm playing honestly way more than I ever have. I'm
Yeah.
playing pretty much every day, which I up until this point in my life, I don't think I've ever done. Like at least 5 days a week, I'm on the kit for a couple of hours,
Very nice.
sometimes more, and that's that's never been a part of my schedule, which is crazy. You'd think it probably would be to learn this stuff, but I'm just jammy. I guess I can do it a lot if I know it in my head and I've listened to it enough. I can generally just do it um, because I've spent enough time with the core things that I need to know to be able to translate it pretty quickly. Um, but yeah, I'm definitely expecting there to be a couple of days of like, oh god, how do I do this again? When I sit behind my acoustic kit for the next time. I mean, I think I'll get used to it quickly. Yeah, I don't know. I'll let you know. I'll
Okay.
send you a
Okay.
message and go shit.
That's so crazy. We and for those listening, I don't think we brought it up. But we live in the same town, so I live on the north side
Mm,
of Austin. So we probably live about less than 15 minutes away from each other. But I mean, I practice at a studio right up the street called Sonance,
mm.
and then there's not Music Loft, that was Arizona, but there was some other places that you could set up a kit. So it is interesting. That's like a first world problem. Like I want to play drums but I can't because I live in an apartment or I don't have access to a studio or it's just not convenient for me to, because it sounds like you don't even have an acoustic kit like in your home right now.
No,
All your stuff is scattered
I
in other
had
states.
a delightful DW collector's kit in the UK. Sorry, um,
Is that the acrylic kit?
I've got that one still. So that's my touring kit.
Okay.
But I'd got a maple mahogany kit that was like all custom. It took like 9 months to make, and I had that for about a year. And then when I was moving to the US, I'm like, what do I do with this? Because I'm not shipping it back to the US because it will a cost a fortune to do that. And B might get damaged
Yeah, which would be
because I didn't have
heartbreaking.
the original boxes. And I was like, oh, what do I do? And it would literally have just stayed in storage if I'd have kept it there. So I sold it, which sucked. Absolutely sucked selling that thing. It's
Yeah.
beautiful. But when I'm in a position over here to have a space again, I'll get another one of those kits or something similar, another DW kit of some kind. But for the longest time, literally since the beginning of Tesseract, before that, I've had my own studios in the UK. Like I owned rehearsal studios, so I had four of
Oh,
these
nice.
rooms where Tesseract rehearsed and kept their gear forever. So I always could have my kit like stored there, if not set up there permanently. Like at least it was mostly set up. I just drag it out of a storage thing and stick the rack down, good to go.
Hmm.
But here I'd need to either build a studio or build my own home studio or something. I mean, I've done that as well when I owned a house in the UK. I built a home studio there that was amazing, like practically soundproof.
That's
Once you're
awesome.
outside of it, it was like floating floor. The walls weren't touching the outside walls. There's loads of stuff went into that place, and you could just hear the kick drum outside when you like if you're stood in the garden, but nothing else.
But that's
Um,
perfect.
and and I was at that house for 9 months. So put all this time into this studio. It's crazy. What you need to do to actually soundproof a room from a drum kit
Well,
is
that's what I'm going to do if I ever buy a house, and that's what
yeah.
people are saying. Well, you've rented apartments. I'm about to turn 36, and they're like, you need to buy a house. No, I don't. I mean, I like being mobile. I like not being tied down. But if I can find a setup like yours, where begrudgingly someone had to move, or it was an empty nest type of situation, like hey, we need to downsize or something like that, be like,
Mm,
I don't want to build a home studio. I'm sure it's fun and everything, and I'm sure it's a great experience to get some time lapse videos and say you did it and all that kind of stuff. But I just want to play my drums, so I'd rather just
yeah.
move in there and play
Yeah, dude.
and do
It
all
was
the
a drummer
legwork.
that bought the house that I built that studio
Oh
at.
yeah, damn straight. Because if somebody
Literally,
bought that and they're like, we're gonna blow up that studio, we're gonna turn that into like the baby's room or something like that, I would have been like, ugh,
well, I
ouch.
advertised it with like it was down the garden, right? It was down the end of the yard, so it's a completely separate building. Not wasn't huge. It was like maybe 8 feet by maybe 15 feet. So, not huge, but big enough for the drum kit and some
Nice little
cameras and microphones
rectangle.
and stuff. Yeah, it was very rectangular. I had to put a lot of absorption and diffusion and stuff in there. Um,
Rectangle's
but
perfect though for room mics and for camera angles, and that's one thing that I realized the hard way because I filmed inside my home in Arizona. It wasn't
mm,
soundproofed at all. I just had some like felt like this kind of material on the walls
yeah,
for better video. But then being in different studios and not being able to get the camera angle you want without the specific tube or drilling holes in the ceiling or something like that, having a rectangular room is just like that's to me is ideal. I don't know if you set up like in the back or in the center, or if you excuse me if you set up in past tense.
yeah.
Did you set up like in the center of the rectangle?
I was at the furthest end, um, so that I had space for the drum bags and crap that I didn't want to be in shot whenever I was doing any video stuff.
Oh, gotcha. Okay.
So the drum kit was kind of at the back, kind of on a bit of an angle because it was such a big kit with the rack that
To
it
get
had to be
behind it.
slightly angled to get the rack to curve the way that I needed it to.
Yeah.
Um, that's what you deal with in the UK though, because unless you've got loads of money, you just can't get the space. You need to either go out in the middle of nowhere, or if you want to live anywhere near somewhere, you've got to have bucket loads of money. You haven't got to have gent band money. You've got to have Metallica money.
Ha ha. Gent band money is break even money
Yeah,
from what
gent
I.
don't pay the rent, man.
Yeah, yeah. That's funny. So let's talk about your Twitch account and
Hmm.
your lessons. So I know that you do a lot of live streaming and that you stay busy with drum lessons. So
Mm.
how's all that going?
Yeah, literally what you just said. Those two things are very true. So Twitch, that became that's turned into something that I just didn't expect at all. It's really helped me survive as a musician through the last 18 months or so, because without touring being an option for any band, um, potential income's just gone. You're not selling the merch that you would sell, because merch is um, it's a big source of income for bands and musicians. Unless you do some kind of special event, that's just gone basically. So Twitch has really really helped. So I do live streams at the moment, Mondays, Tuesday, Thursday, and Friday, 11 a.m. Central Time, and typically it's basically my practice. It's me practicing in front of an audience, and people can request whatever they want me to play. So whether it's a Tesseract song or anything else, as long as there's a video link to it somewhere on the internet, they can drop it into the chat, and then I can get it to appear on the screen and play along to it. And most of the time, I haven't heard it. Like maybe 75% of the stuff that I play on there, I've never heard before. But that's what the fun is. That's what the challenge is. Sometimes it's
Nice.
stupidly fast metal, and I literally can't play it, so I have to just improvise, just do something random.
Yeah,
But it's a lot of fun, and the great thing about Twitch is the community that grows around it, and that's the unexpected part of this. I didn't realize that through doing it, I'd end up with a bunch of friends, like people that I'll hang out with in chats and in games and stuff like computer games outside of a stream environment.
that's awesome.
And I've never met these people. They've been at Tesseract shows for sure, so
Hmm.
we might have seen each other accidentally,
Right.
but I've never met these people, and it's just great. Everyone's really nice. Everyone's really supportive. And we've set up a Discord channel. I don't know if you know what Discord is, but
Yeah, yeah, I know Discord. Yep.
so yeah, there's this wonderful community of people over on Discord. I'll send you a link actually, so you can I guess put it out with the podcast in case anyone wants to join in.
Yeah.
It's just great. It's just nice. There's no bullshit. Fun drums, whatever you want to do in that Discord, you're good to go.
Yeah, I'll
Um,
definitely have to check that out. And also, you made a really informative YouTube video, if I can remember, on
mhm.
how you set up all of your streaming gear, right?
Oh, dude, yeah. So to get to this stage with Twitch, it's a whole thing. Like you don't realize when you start out what it's going to become.
Hmm.
I had no idea. So I first started my first ever live stream was from the UK when I was waiting in visa limbo. Basically, I was waiting for my US visa to be approved before I flew over here to live, and I had my PS4, my MacBook, a camera, and I was staying in my uncle's empty house, and just
Oh
like,
wow,
what do I do? So I was like, I'm just gonna go live on Twitch. Someone will join, and I did. I was playing Horizon Zero Dawn. It looked terrible, obviously, because it was just a PlayStation camera. But I went live on Twitch, and there was like 30 people joined or something, and we just started chatting. And most of those people are still around today. Like
nice.
when I start a stream, most of those people will join that stream. But like, hey, and like we're the people who've become friends.
That's awesome.
Um, and on one of those streams, one of those early streams, I was like, wouldn't it be awesome if I could like drum on the internet? So instead of doing this, I could be playing drums. Everyone's like,
Hmm.
yes, that's the 100% what you're supposed to be doing. That's the point of this.
Yeah.
So I ordered this Roland kit. I've been very lucky to get an introduction to Roland a couple of years before, and I'd been down to a studio in London to try out this kit,
Hmm.
but I never really had. I didn't have the space or a reason to have this in the UK really.
Hmm.
So when I moved to the US, I hit up Roland again. I'm like, hey, this Twitch thing is kind of turning into something. Can I get one of these kits? It wasn't free. I just said that like I got it for free. I didn't get it for free, but I did get this.
Roland's
Um,
like, oh, hey Jay, yeah, yeah, for
yeah,
sure.
man. Here you go. Have a
$6,000 electronic kit. Yeah, what do you need, man? I'll ship it to you. Yeah, it'll be there tomorrow.
yeah. There you go. Um, oh, Jet don't pay the rent. We've already established that. But no,
Yeah.
they gave me an amazing deal on this kit, and that helped me out a lot. They basically gave it me for like 18 months for free, and then I had to pay an artist price after that. So it was
Okay,
like they
that's
gave me
fair.
time to like build the funds to even pay the artist price, which was amazing. Um, and I then realized I was trying to stream on a MacBook, and you can't do that. The MacBook just isn't designed to do the workload required to actually put out a high quality stream.
Right.
So I put some money together, bought the PC that we're talking to each other on now, sold the MacBook to buy a better like audio laptop so that I can take that on tour eventually and stream from that. Um, and I've now got this ridiculous rig that enables me to go live literally in like 60 seconds time. I can kind of click a couple of buttons, turn some cameras on, and I'm good to go, which is a dream. But it's taken me a long time. And in the early days, like the ongoing joke in the stream was tech issues. Like people just kept on spamming the words tech issues. And I even got a t-shirt in the mail from one of the Twitch people that was like tech issues, because I'd go live, and even though I was monitoring everything, it sounded perfect on my end.
Just
On the
lose it.
stream, you'd have like no drums and just pads, just the sound of the
Ah,
pads in the room, or it's like the camera would be on, but it'd be delayed. The audio that I'm listening to, the song I'm playing along to, would be like 150 milliseconds out from the drumming, and it's like, what is going on? Why am I plagued by these tech demons? Um, but that's all part of it.
yeah.
In the early days with any technology like this, when you're trying to do something that not that many people are doing, the answers aren't even on the internet.
Right, right. I
So,
remember when I first reached out to you and emailed you, it was right when the lockdown started in Austin. They shut my old studio down, not the one I'm in now, but one that I think went out of business um, over off Cameron Road on the north side, really close to where I live. And there was a situation. I was like a month and I couldn't play my drum set,
oh,
and I could just feel like not to do comparative mental health issues or whatever, but that was the worst my mental health has been since I lived in Austin in the last year and a half.
yeah.
And I was like, I gotta play, I gotta do something. So I actually bought that DW acrylic kit.
Hmm.
Um, it wasn't the higher dollar one. It was the performance. It wasn't a collector's, I guess.
No, dude, the before what is it?
So that
The
rehearsal.
design series.
Yeah, yeah. So it was like $1,100 for like
Yeah,
a
that's what I play on tour. Literally,
the
the design
kit is
series.
fantastic. I mean,
Yeah,
the snare has. I mean, I've always loved acrylic, but I mean, I love the sound of it. I had to get rid of it just because I didn't have the space and it was never getting used, and I didn't want to swap out kits. But I was like, well, let me not sell this guy yet. Let me convert it to an e kit, and I put the silent stroke heads on it and stuff like that. But long story short, I was probably 20 hours into troubleshooting with two or three engineers that I knew. Two of them from Iowa, one of them from Kentucky. Literally, I'm hitting you up. I'm trying to watch YouTube videos. And the best I could get was, and I was going through an EAD10. I wasn't even going through an interface, or I was going through I was going through a Scarlett 18i, or the whatever the 2 channel one is.
mm,
And on the open mic, it was a Zoom open mic, so it was just so ragtag, just thrown together, just destined to fail. And the best I could get was we can hear the drums and they sound okay, but we can't hear the track.
yeah,
Or we can hear the track, but the drums are too low, or the kick's blown out, or whatever. So I think people were just being nice. I think it sounded like ass, but I can't hear what it sounded like because I just wasn't technically proficient enough to run my own, which I'm sure you had set up where you could, well, after you troubleshoot the tech issues, the spamming tech issues, you could have it in your headphones and be like, I think I know what's going on. I can hear what
yeah.
they hear. Let me increase the latency by 10 milliseconds or whatever, and then it'll line up with whatever I'm trying to do. And but I can't imagine how much of that you had to go through or
In
how
the early
long.
days with that latency, because you can offset the audio on devices by, obviously, like into the future, not into the past, by milliseconds, like whatever you want. When you're doing it from one machine with an e-kit, or if you're trying to trigger sounds and play sounds from multiple devices and all that, you need to do that because the computer physically, it takes time to process these things.
Yeah.
um, and the thing that I was finding is that the monitored audio would be different to the audio that was being broadcast, and that was different every single time that I'd do it. I don't know why. Whether it was opening something in administration mode, having a different program open, uh, there's a million different things that I can't fathom that it could be. And it was Matt Hafey from Trivium who I reached out to him, thinking like this guy's got it nailed. He's like one of the biggest music streamers, like, and he maybe will know the answer. And his answer to me was two machines, two
Mhm.
interfaces, one for audio, one for streaming. That guarantees there's no latency, no mess. Get the audio stuff all sorted on one machine, hardwire out of that. It's not pretty, but hardwire out of that into the one and two on another interface. You can't go wrong there because you've just got one. You got one stereo signal to process, and I've had no problems. I mean, I say I've had no problems. There's still occasional problems, but I now do more and more advanced things like on the stream that I've got a stupid number of things running now, triggering alerts and graphics and animations and things, and the chat can control cameras, and
Oh wow.
it's there's all sorts of things.
It's
I'm
like a
about to.
whole. Good.
Go on. Oh, I was about to say I'm about to receive from Elgato. I don't know if you've heard of that company, but they do the capture cards for cameras that you put in a PC, so it captures the HDMI um, source basically. So any camera you can turn into a webcam. Um, they're sending me their new Camlink Pro, which is 4 HDMI ports in a card in the camera, which is a game changer for streaming. Because at the moment, I've got like a little Camlink USB. I've got the HD60, the HD60 Pro. I've got like three of these different things,
Hmm.
and I'm just going to be able to replace it with one thing, and through that have the ability to put another like three cameras on my setup.
Yeah, I was gonna
Um,
say with the different ports or whatever, that's a camera per port, and then what you
Camera
already
per
have on your
port.
computer too.
Yeah, it's so good, so
Nice.
good. But yeah, Twitch is great, really really good. And I mean, what you were saying a minute ago though about not being able to play your kit and it affecting like your mental health, that's totally a thing. Like
Yeah.
that's if I couldn't play drums for any amount of time, or I was denied the thing that was my creative outlet,
Yeah.
I'd go crazy. You know, that's a big deal. I
Yeah,
feel
I
that.
think even having the option, because I mean, it's right there behind you. But I mean,
Yeah.
and it's different. It's not like having the practice pad around, and it's not like
No,
drumming on your leg. You want to be able
jam.
to jam, yeah, and you want to be, and it's yours. And there's something about, and I'm sure guitarists feel the same way. But there's something about owning an instrument that just like there's nothing like it. There's no relationship that's going to touch it. There's nothing that can fill that void. So
Mm,
yeah, I totally get it, and I take it for granted. I mean, that's another thing too, is being able to go because this studio is 24/7. It's got decent Wi-Fi. It's air conditioned. That sort of
yeah.
thing. I mean, I can't imagine how many people. Like we had a guest on last weekend that was from Berkeley, and for a while
Mm.
she was taking the train for like 2 or 3 hours to get to school. So by that time you're just smoked, and I mean sometimes you just can't let you sit down and nothing works. You just got to be like, oh, I guess I'm gonna woodshed this for now, and circle
Yeah,
back
man.
to it. It's just imagine only having a set amount of time.
That's why I've made this as easy as possible. I mean, I live in a 1,000 square foot house in Austin, so we don't have the luxury of a drum room and an office and a bedroom and a front room and whatever.
Yeah,
Um, so my office is my studio as well. But like you said, to literally be able to turn around and play drums and them sound amazing and
yeah,
it feel amazing and play along to my favorite music, it's amazing. I love it.
that's awesome, dude. Awesome. I have a question that I don't have written down because it's
Hmm.
something I've been curious about for a while. It seems like over time, whatever your main right side stack is,
Hmm.
changes slightly. So
Yeah.
sometimes it's a chine on top of a crash. I know, like I tried to emulate, like because I used Sabian for a while, try to emulate your stack based on a video. There's one Sabian video that has all the symbols labeled, and I don't
Mm,
know, I don't know who made that. Maybe you made that. I don't know. You know what I'm
might
talking about? It's
have.
like the white font, and when you start playing a symbol, it like appears what symbol it is. It's HHX, whatever.
Yeah, I did do that. Yeah, that
You
was
did that
me.
one? Okay. But my question is, how do you make that? Do you just fuck around with stacks and just come up with whatever? I mean, back when you were actually playing an acoustic kit, like how do you
Yeah.
decide what stack you're going to use on any given song or tour or session?
um so a good relationship with a cymbal company is essential if you want to put together a stack that is replaceable and consistent, because what most people typically do is put together two broken cymbals to make a stack, which is
Yeah,
fine because you just want a trashy fast sound. But the profile of the cymbal, like after the bell, the shoulder there changes from like range to range. So like a HHX isn't going to be the same as a like well any of the other Sabian cymbals.
mm-hmm.
So I uh the first stack I ever got, I went to I went to their vault in London, and they've just got like these walls of like symbols kind of sideways on. It's just like a library of
Mhm.
symbols. Um, and they've got like an a side of brand new stuff and a side of artist stuff. And the artist stuff was all stuff that's been out like on a tour. Like it's been used by a US band that are doing UK shows. They needed a symbol setup, so they sent them these, and then they've been
Wow.
returned. And there's loads and loads of things in there, and prototype stuff. You know, it was made for a guy and returned or whatever. So they just said, just go nuts, like put some things together and like pick out what you need, which was
Oh, man.
like which was insane. Like I got all
I'd
this
never
free
leave.
stuff. It took me a while because I'm like, what do I want, man? Like I can't be unreasonable here, but like Sabian is saying, take what you want. I'm like, okay.
Yeah.
Um, so I put together I put together a couple of different stacks. So I can't remember the specifics, but the one now that I use, again, Sabian were amazing, and they sent me a box of symbols, just a big box of like loads and loads and loads of symbols. And on top of it was like one of the new stacks that they had put together. They were selling like a range of stacks, and I just had to do a video on this stack highlighting it, which might have been the one that you saw. I did like it was like 11 stacks video or something. I put it on YouTube years ago. But
No, but I'm gonna check
anyway,
it out because yeah, I love stacks. I mean, I'm so passionate about them. So I mean, yeah, I definitely want to check
it,
that out.
yeah, I mean, it's a dumb video. I can't remember exactly what I'm playing now. I did one that was like Medicine Man by Dr. Dre, and it was something stupid like that. But I did an 11 stack video, and from that video, I found my new stack, which is 16-inch ozone crash, inverted, so it's
Mhm.
upside down, which does mean that you destroy it faster because you're hitting it where it doesn't want to be hit, but
Yeah.
it sounds good. So ozone stack 16, sorry, ozone crash upside down. Then on top of that, a 12-inch mini holy china. Let me think which way around it goes. Can't remember now. It's been so long, but you should be able to find a picture on the internet. And
I'd
then
say
that,
flanged edge down would be more of a suction
yeah,
as opposed to upside down and then the right side up China. It would be more of like a sandwich if it was the
yeah.
China was actually inverted as well.
I'll, I can't remember. I'm trying to picture it in my brain, but it's literally been 18 months, so I'm struggling. But those two symbols together, they fizz and decay wonderfully. There's a little overtone that I got rid of with like an inch of gaff tape or duct tape,
Yeah,
um, but it's brilliant.
that's
That's
amazing.
it. That's what I use now. No reason to change that setup because it's great.
Yeah. It's funny that you say inverted because when I think inverted, I think push on the cymbal until it flips the
Oh
other
no,
way.
no, just turn it upside down.
I'm like, don't try to invert an ozone crash unless you want to like cut
No,
your finger off or something like that. I don't even know if they can physically invert, and if you do get it, I don't know if you're going to get it back.
yeah, I've done that with a couple of splashes before.
Yeah, you get some
Actually,
real nice stacks from inverted splashes.
I have inverted that stack, the crash on the bottom, a couple of times
Really, was
by
it
hitting
difficult?
it. It was by hitting it during a show,
Oh, it
and
inverted on its own.
yeah, I hit it, and it was just positioned like it would have been a
Oh,
festival show where I'm not traveling with my stuff, so everything's like the symbols are a bit wonky on the stands and whatever. And I've had to eyeball because we never tour with a drum tech because that's like the last person on the list that we want to have to pay for. We've got like
yeah,
other techs before we get to drum tech. So I'm like eyeballing our tour manager, like, get over here, sort this out.
yeah,
And he's like, what? I'm like looking at this because I'm still trying to play, looking
yeah,
at the stack, eyeballing, and he's like, what? Because it's already like a weird shaped symbol. Like,
yeah.
it's bent, you have to bend it back. And he's like, and it's so fiddly because it's 16-inch symbol trying to bend that back without it being off the stand. You've almost got to
Yeah,
like hug it. You got to like bear hug this thing so that you
yeah,
put pressure on the whole thing. Otherwise, the bent bit just follows all the way round. It
right.
just kind of keeps going round, like rotates. Um, but yeah, they definitely can invert if you are playing them upside down like an idiot, like I do.
And well, I'm assuming that did not sound good then.
It didn't sound great. It just lost the every reason that you'd have it as a stack.
Oh, gotcha, gotcha.
But
Okay, so
you could probably
that's like
flip
a
the whole
it's like
thing.
Luke Collins stack,
I haven't
except
seen that.
it's a trash crash with a trash splash and he
Mm.
plays it the crash upside down and then the splash upside down in it.
Yeah.
So he
Yeah.
likes that,
Okay.
and it's really interesting. Like I could talk about stacks all day, but like I have to have a China on the bottom of mine. Like I use a
Mm.
18-inch Wuhan, one of the new ones, the linear trash smash one, so it's got holes in it. 16-inch Classics Custom Dark Trash Crash from Vinyl, and then a Zildjian Spiral Stacker, and then a Ching Ring. Just because it gives it's like the subtleties.
Whoa.
You know, it's not like I need more tambourine in my stacks, or I can't hear the shells on the stack. It just adds a little bit of. I think it's really more aesthetic than anything, but it adds just a little bit of a subtle. It's hard to describe the word, but just a little subtle. It changes the timbre or something, a little bit of it, but like I do love how many different options you can have. The
Mm.
regular crash cymbal over a China. You could do splashes on top. Trash crashes are amazing for across the board for testing out different stacks. But it's like I'm with you. Like I don't feel like I just settle on one stack because
Mm.
sometimes in the song I want something more high pitched or more gated, and then I want something real deep and full. It just really depends on what kind of music you're playing. But for what you're doing, I mean, every choice that you made, it sounds wonderful. I mean, for what it's worth.
Cool. Thank you. Something that's like, and this is such a dumb reason, but a valid one at the level we're at. The symbols that I've got, that I can't really change too much about them. At least I wouldn't at this stage like add another symbol
Mm-hmm.
because this is going to sound ridiculous. When we go and do like fly-in festival shows, we're flying with all our gear. Like the guitarists, we've got it all dialed in now. We know what cases we fly with. Um, I know I fly with like a cymbal bag, and I generally sometimes they let me take that on the plane, and we put it in like if you're going on a big flight, they'll put it in like there's like wardrobe things, and I'll put it
Oh,
in living
cool.
first class for me, which is nice. But on like little flights, if you're just going somewhere in Europe, it has to get checked in, and the
Right.
weight of all of my cymbals is like just enough to not have to pay oversize, so or overweight baggage. So we're like,
Oh,
and I'll cram that. All of my clothes as well. They get crammed in the cymbal bag so that I can put like other things that I need that I don't want to get broke in my hand luggage. So and we'll travel with like the kick pedal. Someone will carry that on as hand luggage. We're like economic as it gets when we go on tour because we
nice.
like I said at the start, we need every bit of money that we're making to put into the live show so that
Yeah.
people are like, "Whoa, did you see Tesseract?" And then people are like, "Did you hear Tesseract?" Like that's what we want. We want people to
Yeah.
think that the visual thing is amazing and it sounds amazing, and to do that, we need to spend a load of money on it.
Yeah, that makes sense. And just it's giving me anxiety just talking about traveling with
Oh man,
symbols or whatever. Like
I
you,
hate it.
they're like, did you give me a bag? And it's like, yeah, I gave you a bag with like priceless items in it. It's like I don't know, I don't know if you've ever had that where they're like, did you give me something? And they're like, oh yeah, you gave me something. It's like, don't play with me like that. Come on. Like don't play with me with my symbols. Give me my symbols. Come on.
We've, you know what, we talking about traveling though, we've been very fortunate to not have anything get destroyed or lost on flights.
That's good. That's
I
really good.
think we've had one journey where like you see people throw suitcases and stuff, and we've had a couple of guys, take our heavy box and bang, and it's like, dude, that's literally got the brain of our live show in it. And I know you don't know it, but I'm filming you through the window of the plane so that if this is broken, like
Yeah.
we've done that a couple of times. But very fortunate that the worst that's happened is like a couple of rack ears have like got snapped off of the sound card that we use, and we always carry spares of those. But yeah, nothing of mine. I mean, cymbals break anyway because they're going from hot to cold to
Yeah.
wet to dry. You're hitting them every night with a
Yeah.
stick. Um, you're very, very fortunate as this band. Like nothing's broke. I'm saying that now. The very first like show back that we have, I guarantee
No.
everything's gonna break.
Don't say that. Don't say that. No, you're gonna be good. So, time for one more question here.
Yeah, yeah.
And this is a question that Brett would normally ask. What was the moment you knew you wanted to be a drummer? Like where it was just something clicked, and you're like, this is something I got to do.
I've got two moments. I'll tell you about the two moments.
Cool.
So one of them was this is when I knew I wanted to perform. Um, I was in middle school in the UK, which probably would have been like grade six over here, something like that. Um, and my dad was watching like a live Pink Floyd VHS,
Mm.
and "Shine On You Crazy Diamond" that was playing, and I remember just being like, "Wow, this is awesome!" And in my head, like, because I knew I could play instruments at my school, and I was putting together this performance immediately in my head, like, because I knew in like school assembly, there was all these lights that we were never used for anything, like up above the gym. I'm like I'm sure we could use those. We've got a drum kit, we've got the guitarists. Like, I want to play this in front of people. That'd be so good. Never
Wow.
happened, but that was like the performer light was just it turned on in my
Not even for like a
brains.
talent show or anything. You couldn't sign up for
I,
the school talent show.
I just did nothing about it. I mean, I was in bands at school, but we were just playing like Nirvana, really simple Nirvana stuff and Oasis and whatever. Like, no one was proficient enough to play Pink Floyd, I don't think, at the time. And to be honest, when I told people that I liked Pink Floyd, they were young kids and they're like, he likes Pink Floyd. Like
What?
everyone's taking, yeah, 'cause everyone's taking the piss at school. Kids were dickheads where I went to school.
They're
Um,
legendary.
I know, like,
They paved the way for
absolutely
the genre
legendary.
playing. I mean,
Yeah,
they're kind of a big deal.
it wasn't like it wasn't modern pop or modern like guitar music. So everyone at
Yeah.
that age was just like,
Yeah.
which is annoying. So that was when I realized I wanted to perform, which is it's such a random story. And I actually only remembered that the other day when someone asked me. But when I wanted to realize I wanted to be a drummer, um, I was on vacation in France with my family. I'd have been 11 or 12, probably, maybe a little older. And sat in the car with my dad and our friend, and we were listening to Asia by Steely Dan and Steve Gadd on that. And
Game
I'd
over.
heard it before, but just something about that moment, like we were sat there, I'm like, oh my god! And that was the take they used on that was like his second take. It's like, dude,
I think you
like
recorded
this
that song in 20 minutes. Yeah.
insane.
Yeah.
So hearing that, I'm like, yeah, I'm being a drummer. And then I was just stubborn about it my entire life. When I had to get a job, it was always like, I'm gonna be a musician. Like, this is just what I'm doing to afford the next bit of musical gear that I buy. And I'm not at all invested in this. Like, I'm turning up here miserably because I've got to do this to get to the stage where there's enough money coming in from music to justify me stopping doing this, which is
Tight.
exactly what happened. I've just been super, super stubborn, which I encourage you all to be.
Yeah.
If you
Oh,
want to be a
absolutely.
musician, you got
Absolutely.
to hustle hard and you
You
got to be
have to be.
stubborn.
You have to be. You have to figure out a way to monetize things too. And there's a lot of
Yeah,
masters of the universe figured out a way to monetize online subscriptions and websites and things like that, and they're making a lot of money off of it. All right,
yeah.
so when you said Asia, I mean, I heard a part in my head, but what is the first like drum part or melodic or melody or lyrics that you hear if I say Asia by Steely Dan? What's the first thing that comes in your brain?
Um, Probably the first bit where Steve Gadd goes hype on the drums.
Okay, so
Like, it,
dun 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 dun
dun,
dun
dun,
dun.
bat, bat,
Yeah,
yeah, the triplet
yeah,
thing.
yeah,
That's
yeah.
kind of what I think of.
That's the first thing is the triplet, or actually it's the hertas.
Mm,
You know that, and then you know, he just nobody plays like Steve, man,
yeah,
and Jeff too, and Jeff, absolute legends. Like they just, oh man, just that's so profound. I mean, and I don't know, if drumming nobody can touch these guys. Like I'm sorry, not sorry, but like Vinny and Dave and Steve and Jeff. I mean, there's just and there's amazing drummers. Like, and I think
Mm.
the internet has a lot to do with that. Like the internet is when when people lay down these drum tracks, they couldn't go compare themselves to 200 other drummers on Instagram
No,
and pull different elements in. They had to innovate
it's
themselves. They had to
original creativity.
I mean, I'm just waiting. I mean, I'm trying to. I mean, there's a lot of drummers that can chop, and nothing against them. They're amazing, and I hate comparing
Mm.
musicians or trashing musicians is a big pet peeve. I really do my best not to say anything negative on a public forum about drummers, but I just don't know anybody who's like all those guys. Like, I mean,
No,
hopefully there will be more people in the future that are. We're like, oh my gosh, it's Vinny, reincarnated or something like that. I just don't know
I think
who that
it's
is.
it's a product of the times we're in though, because those guys came from a time before the internet, before the ability to share ideas was very easy.
Yeah.
And those guys, the only idea sharing that they've got is in a drum shed type environment where you got more than one drummer in a room and you can shed. And maybe that kind of thing happened. I don't know, but and it's just a different age of musician almost. Like you got different age of artists. It's
Yeah.
the same kind of thing. You were probably not gonna get that, but you're gonna get something else, which is I don't know what it is. Just amazing modern drummers that are listening to everything that's out there and able to play the shit that I can play, but they're 12.
Yeah, yeah. Maybe that's the next iteration. Is just it's like the perfect storm between those two things. They have the natural ability, and they've taken the influence, and they kind of fast track their way to being way ahead of,
Yeah.
or they play so great for their age or something like that. You know.
Mm.
But yeah, it still is. It's still awesome how I can still tell that they're the best, even
Yeah.
after all that we just said. You can still put on. I can go downstairs and put on my Asia vinyl and I can play that song and I can be blown away, and then I got to move the needle back and listen to it one more time,
Mm.
every
But
time because
there's
it's
so much
legendary.
like the dynamic control that he's got in that track is the other thing. Like when I say the first thing that I hear is that fill, like that's what I think of. But if I think of Asia the track, I literally think of the intro and like how sparse
Mm-hmm.
it really is. It's just like a little
All the
bit of
little
cymbal
the
tips
tinkles on the
and
bells and the ride and stuff like yeah.
yeah, and then the beat comes in and it's like so the space between the notes, that's the great thing. That's what makes it groove. It's not just a straight beat. It's not trying to be super complex. It's just tasteful.
Yeah,
And a lot of players, like, there's a lot of trying to be 10 all the time, like, in terms of like volume and intensity
yeah,
and notes. Play everything, play them fast, be ridiculous, be flipping tasty, be
yeah.
tasty. Like groove first, and then like groove first, technique second, and then
Mm-hmm.
go crazy. Then go ham if you need to.
Yep. Solid
That's what I'm
advice,
saying.
man. Solid
Yeah,
advice.
man.
Well, I'm gonna have to get a lesson booked for sure. It doesn't look like you're set up for in person lessons at least right now.
Right now, yeah, I'm taking a bit of time off of doing in person because two reasons. I'm getting burnt out doing them because I've done
Yeah,
them for like 18 months and I'm repeating a lot of the same information to guys. Because it answers this. A lot of people have got either the same questions or a different problem that the answer is the same
you need to
for.
create
Like
like a library on your website. Yeah, that's just super
yeah,
smart. Like, hey, go watch these videos to prep for if we do an in person lesson. Like, watch this shit first and
yeah.
get on
So
board.
that's what I've been developing. So since January this year, I kind of lit a fire under myself to make this website that it's not just like another drum lesson website. I'm not trying to compete with Drumeo or anyone like that. I'm just
Mhm.
trying to create a place that I can store the best possible versions of the things that are in my brain and give them out to people.
Got it.
And that you can. not only can you like watch a video of me explaining the technique or slowing an idea down or whatever it is, you can literally slow down the video while watching the sheet music go along, while
Hmm.
changing the camera angle, while just listening to MIDI drums. You can, it's completely customizable for the learner, for the student. So, because everyone's going to have a different speed at which they learn,
Yeah.
but the content that you want to be able to play doesn't necessarily change if you're coming to me for a lesson. Like you're trying to play the things that I can do. Um, but that said, there's also other drummers that are contributing to it now. So it's not just me. I'm trying to
Very
get other
nice.
drummers involved, so that it kind of becomes the place that people can go to learn how to do complex, progressive metal, whatever you want to call it. This style of drumming. That's what I'm growing towards. So if anyone is interested, jpostones-drumlessons.com. That's where it is
Awesome.
at the moment.
I'll put that
Um,
link down in the description too. And the reason why I asked for, well, to be selfish for myself, obviously, to see if I could set something up, but also people that I know that live in town that are going to watch this, if they are interested in taking lessons from you, that they
mm.
know where to go, what to do.
Nice. Thank you. Well, on the back of that as well, we've set up another Discord, which is the community for the people that sign up to that website, and that gives you like there's just a very constant back and forth. Not constant, like it's annoying, but you can reach me if you need to through the Discord.
Awesome.
You can stick a video of you playing something from the website or your own music in there, and ask the community for feedback, or I can give you feedback through there. So we're growing something really cool.
Yeah, that sounds more like a community than just like you were saying before this. You're trying not to make it like a carbon copy of other drum lesson websites. That sounds awesome.
Yeah, it's kind of come for the content, stay for the community is kind of what we're going for.
Very cool. Very cool. Well, thank you so much for taking the time to
Dude,
speak
my
with me
pleasure.
today, man. Really looking forward to whenever you tour again. Hopefully,
Yeah,
there
me
will be
too.
some dates in Austin where I can come and actually see you in person and do so safely. But yeah, man, I'm really looking forward to the new record and the website. You got so much exciting stuff going on.
Yeah, man. I'm looking forward to it all as well. I mean, Tesseract, work on album five. We should be touring next year as long as the world opens up enough. There's supposed to be a tour at the end of this year with Trivium in Europe. Hopefully that goes ahead, but we need the rest of Europe to be safe enough for us to do so.
Right.
Um, just got to keep our fingers crossed, man. It'll happen one day. I just don't know when.
It'll be like a light switch. It'll be like all of a
I think
sudden
you're right.
touring because I mean it's going to be hard to stop. I mean that kind of momentum. If everybody's like, we're ready to go, our managers are booking stuff, people are buying the tickets. I mean, what are you going to do? Stop it? You know, refund everybody, cancel it? I mean, just at some point, it's got to move forward.
Well, I mean, we've got stuff in the calendar. Um, People are, the tickets are purchasable. You can go and get them, but that some of the places that we're supposed to play, you can't currently play. So
Yeah.
I guess we'll just have to wait and see what happens.
All right, man. Well, thank you again. And thanks everybody for listening in. And take care. Talk again soon.
All good. Thank you.